Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, some interesting news about the number one pound for pound in boxing. Things that we hear, at least we fathom, we talk about things that was happening in Terrence Crawford's career before the Spence fight, and we're going to continue to do it because actually he's a Negro League fighter, and we all know what that means here, right? So, Terrence Crawford, I've been always telling you about some of the superlatives people would say when they would talk about Crawford, right? And then as opposed to the other ones. And then you would have to hear, well, he doesn't have a big resume and he hasn't fought this person, that person, when those people ain't gonna fight him, right? So we know that. That's pretty much what's going on with most Negro League fighters. It is what it is. So, I heard something today that was kind of significant and it's come from Mikey Garcia. I think four division champion. Mike Garcia is all that in the bag of chips. He bit off a little bit towards the end of his career, a little bit more than he could chew, messing around with Errol Spence, going up two weight division, talking about he could see something with Errol Spence. It's funny he say something now, but Errol Spence beat him thoroughly, and it's one of Spence's wins because it was just one sided. And Spence also boxed with Mikey Garcia, so he did a good job against him. I just knew Spence was going to win. He was just way too big for Mikey Garcia. I didn't want Mikey Garcia to do that. Mike Garcia was a little bit quicker. I would have said okay, but with that speed, you moving up two weight divisions, don't at least have a speed advantage. Then I don't really see the use in having those fights. But anyway, the point is Mike Garcia weighed in on Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds. Now, what's interesting is he says Canelo Alvarez is going to beat Jermell Charlo. He's saying Canelo Alvarez will beat Jermell Charlo. It'll be a competitive fight. But at the end of the day, we're going to make this quick. He says Canelo is going to beat Jermell Charlo. Now, when asked about Terrence Crawford, even at 168 pounds, he thinks Crawford is going to beat Canelo at 168 pounds. That's pretty huge. And the superlatives, that's another superlative coming towards Crawford direction, which is just awesome. You know what I mean? Because at 168 pounds, that's a lot too much really weight for Terrence Crawford's little butt to be trying to put on to fight anybody. Let's be real, right? But I mean, just the people that think that if somebody can do it, it'll be quite possibly Terrence Crawford. And then Mike Garcia goes on to talk about the things why. He starts saying, well, Canelo hasn't been looking good in his last two or three fights and stuff like that, right? And this might be the perfect time for him to get him, right? That would be good if somebody just asked you, what do you think about Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez? But when you just were asked a minute earlier, a couple of minutes earlier, about Jermell Charlo, who's at 154 pounds, moving up two weight divisions, bigger than Terrence Crawford, that you think, and also undisputed too, and awesome Jermell Charlo, but you think Canelo's going to beat him. And then a minute later, you say, but he ain't going to beat Terrence Crawford. And then you start talking about how Canelo's looking it's the right time. Isn't it the right time for Jermell Charlo to get him too? Then if he's not been looking good in his last fights and things like that. But I just think that's a myth with Canelo when he says he's not looking good in his last fights. Yeah, Dimitri Bivol is just awesome. Right? Let's remember, after Dimitri Bivol beat Canelo easily, he went on to beat Gilberto Ramirez, a big old southpaw with a punch output and a great fighter. He dominated that. That was more impressive to me. That was more impressive than beating Canelo in the same year, about 3-4 months later. That was ridiculous. I did not expect Dimitri Bivol to go out there and beat Gilberto Ramirez the way he did. I didn't. I just didn't. Right? Undefeated. What is it? Matter of fact, Gilberto Ramirez was somebody that was talking about was going to get Floyd Mayweather's record of 50-0. This is how confident people was. We forgetting that. He did that after Canelo. So Canelo wasn't going to look good against him anyway. And if he would have fought him at 168 pounds, which is where he's comfortable at. He don't want no more of that. So where the fights with Canelo look good? Is it the Gennady Golovkin fights? Can't be, because he lost the first one, tied the second one, actually. Right? So where was that? Was it against Lara or Floyd Mayweather? Not necessarily. Where are the fights where Canelo would look like he was awesome with somebody that was fairly matched up against him? Right? Even Daniel Jacobs, which was a good fight. Very close fight, that fight, if somebody pays attention. So I don't see the distance, where Canelo was just distance in his fights. Like a Terrence Crawford, like a Floyd Mayweather. You're hard pressed to find a close fight against with those guys. Terrence Crawford, you be talking about, man, well, shoot, remember Gamboa gave him some problems. you got to go. You got to go way back. You can't even say Victor Postal gave him problems as bad as Victor Postal is. Nobody 140, nobody 135. 147, he knocked out everybody. So we can't really say, there was distance to those fights. Because first of all, he was smaller, had to handle his business to then knock him out later. It's ridiculous, man. So these are the superlatives that you hear when you're talking Terrence Crawford. And let me just give you some more. Lomachenko was 2 weight divisions under Terrence Crawford. He was asked to fight Terrence Crawford. He said, man, that's suicide. Lomachenko, this is about 5 years ago. This ain't just yesterday. About 5 years ago, he was about 100. I think he was at 130, and Crawford was 140. Wasn't even at 147 yet. 10 pounds difference. It's suicide to go up there messing with Terrence Crawford. That's Lomachenko's words. You know what I mean? And then we go to Pacquiao, also a great fighter. Everybody was scared of Pacquiao's well-being when we were talking about Terrence Crawford. It was the pundits and Stephen A. Smith or Teddy Atlas not wanting him to have to fight Pacquiao to fight Terrence Crawford. If it was his promoter and Bob Arum said, I killed the fight on several occasions. I didn't want Pacquiao to get hurt. And Freddie Roach too. We ain't trying to mess with Terrence Crawford. That's a young Floyd Mayweather. We ain't even thinking about it, right? So, you're talking about that. Then you're looking at moving up in the weight division. And he's the favorite against Errol Spence. The favorite against Errol Spence. And if you talk about him against Errol Spence at 154, he's still the favorite against Errol Spence. Right? You see what I'm saying? If you talk about Jermell Charlo at 154 pounds, Terrence Crawford's the favorite against that guy. It's ridiculous. Right? Who do they compare him to now? Floyd Mayweather. That's what's the only thing left. Floyd Mayweather is to compare him to. So Terrence Crawford, this is a living legend. We checking him out as we see him. We just make sure you watch what you're watching, right? Pay attention to what you're watching. The dude is ridiculous. And speaking of Floyd Mayweather, right? I would just watch Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao just for GP again. Floyd Mayweather dominated that fight. For the nerve of people to call that fight boring. The nerve of people to call that fight boring. It wasn't nothing boring about that fight. Like nothing. Floyd Mayweather just dominated. I had a 9 rounds of 2. Or 10-2, actually. Most would have a 9-3 because you would give Pacquiao 4, you would give him 6, and you would give him 7. And I just give him 6 and 7. Because round 4, Pacquiao hit Floyd Mayweather once with that shot and threw 11 shots and landed 1 more. Pacquiao landed about 4 punches in that round. Floyd Mayweather won the beginning of the round and dominated the end of the round. He had that patch where he got hit. If you look at the whole round, I'm not giving Pacquiao that one either. I get at a draw, but that's not Pacquiao's round just because he had one thing. You know what I'm saying? So Floyd dominates that fight. Wanted to fight him earlier by offering him $40 million 5 years prior to that fight, and Pacquiao didn't want to take a dope test. I mean, people get mad at him. Pacquiao was allowed to say after that fight that Floyd Mayweather was running, and just watch the fight. You call that running? I mean, I'm going to move my head out of the way when you throw a punch. Am I allowed to do that as a black guy? Yeah, I'm not trying to just get hit to prove nothing to someone. So I am going to move since I'm a defensive fighter, right? That's my thing. I move out of the way when a punch is coming. If you want me to stand still right here, right? No, I'm going to move to the left or the right when you're coming in. And weren't Pacquiao's legs supposed to be so good, his in and out movement? That's supposed to neutralize whatever Mayweather's doing. But instead of just giving Mayweather props, sour grapes, Mayweather was running and the fight was boring, and it was neither. So, Mayweather went on to win 118 on one card, 116, 112 on both other cards. You can give it, like, long as it was unanimous by a long shot, it was. And it was nothing boring about that. That was an awesome performance from a 38-year-old Floyd Mayweather, period. And this is where Terrence Crawford is rolling right now. He's on that level, that niveau. When people start saying stuff like, he can probably get with Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds, which is ludicrous to even try. I think he should get the 3-division world championship at 154. But I think people are actively not wanting him to get that. Trust me, because they were actively not giving him Pacquiao. So don't act like it's not possible, right? That's too much damn best of all time, and we ain't going to just aid and abet him to do it and make the road free. Because if you would, the WBO would shut the hell up, tell Tim Chu, chill out, let this guy go up 2 weight divisions and be great, like they did with Canelo Alvarez when he could have fought undisputed against Demetrius Andrade at 160 pounds. They let him go up to dare to be great to fight Kovalev, who was just coming off a fight 8 weeks earlier, right? Instead of fighting undisputed, and he kept all his belts. Canelo ain't fought somebody hard in 168 in a while. Fought John Ryder instead of his other mandatories that have been there 2 years before John Ryder was, right? In David Morrell and David Benavidez. So Canelo ain't getting nobody stripping him. He's going up to fight Canelo, Jermell Charlo, 2 weight divisions higher, and it's Canelo Alvarez. That's a fight that you're supposed to take, damn near gotta take. It's almost an unwritten law in boxing. You gotta take that. It's a money payday and it's significant. And they're gonna still strip him because WBO, instead of just telling Tim Chu hold up, or make Tim Chu fight another interim like they did Jermell Charlo when he was waiting for fight Canelo, then gave him a franchise title, or give Jermell Charlo the franchise, meaning or something where he can fight for the title as soon as he gets back. I don't know. But at the end of the day, they should hold the hell up, right? Or something, or Crawford versus Tim Chu for that belt or something. I don't know. But I think that they should let Jermell Charlo have the belt, fight Canelo, and then decide after that fight. That would be fair, and that's what they've done in many other cases. But hey, Jermell Charlo is a member of the Negro League Fighters. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, this video is just for more props for Terrence Crawford, because Mikey Garcia thinks that Jermell Charlo is going to lose to Canelo, but not Terrence Crawford. Lomachenko thinks it's suicide to fight Terrence Crawford, right? Manny Pacquiao's well-being was always at stake when talking Terrence Crawford. Yes, that sounds like a #1 pound for pound now, doesn't it? Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.